Does anyone listen to feminist podcasts? If so, which one? And do you think that they are effective in spreading the movement to new people and or changing the way others outside of the wave view feminism?
Um, I have actually listened to a couple. Now, I would have to say, probably, I don't know, I think I'm tempted to say probably not, because they're kind of like infomercials. You ever seen those things where people try and sell you the latest exercise gizmo because this is amazing and I've used it and it works better than the last one they tried to sell you? They do come across a little like that if they're too polished, and if they're too raw, they just come across like someone ranting. I think things like OSS and like what we're doing now, where people communicate, are a lot more effective than just dropping these info bombs out there. Unless it's specifically targeted, of course. Like, for example, something at Weinstein or something that has a cohesive target. Otherwise, I think they come across as, they look like commercials to me, because that's what I suppose they are. They're trying to sell the idea of feminism, but feminism is an organic thing. It exists in the conversations that people have about it. We had that problem at the very beginning, didn't we, where the first few months of OSS almost stalled because we couldn't get through this wall of endless trolls just kept asking us to explain what feminism was all the time. Eventually we got through it in circumstances and managed to push the message to the point where it became acceptable, and now people use the word almost without a problem now. So I think it's got out there. I don't know, maybe the podcasts are aimed at a different group of people. Maybe they're aimed at a younger group or a more online group or people who download music or whatever. They may well be in that case, but I think that the danger is that they're just info bombs that people think are curious and move on. Like those things you get online all the time where, 10 alligator stories you didn't hear before. So to me, I think, unless they're aimed at something specific, I don't know whether they're actually very effective. That's my view on that one.
Anyone? Anyone else?
I've never listened to. I've never listened to anything like that. Neither do I know of any podcasts, feminist podcasts.
To be fair, there aren't many. I mean, we had that with websites, didn't we? We set up a Double Dash site and Agnes started doing it. We thought, there's going to be loads of these. The market will be crowded. We can see what other people have done and copy them. And when Agnes did a search, Agnes did a detailed search, and we didn't find much of anything. So maybe this simply needs a bigger market. I don't know. But yeah, there's not a lot of it. But that could be why. I think it's an organic discussion. All you can do is define it like Wikipedia, but it doesn't make people get up and march. Like, I went to the march and the rally. That gets people going because that's about feminism, but that's got people together. It's got an atmosphere. It's got a purpose, I think. So that's what comes to key. If you do a podcast about something, have a target in mind. Other people can certainly get on it, like Twitter and Facebook. You'll see other people join in. But you have to have something to point at. Like, when we started doing these Skypes, didn't we? They were free form. And they were great, and they were on, but when we got to the end, we didn't really know what we'd done. We just seemed to be sort of generating a lot of ideas that bounced around. Whereas now we have specific questions, it makes it easier to frame the output. So when Robert edits this and sticks it on the website, it's going to make more sense to people. So I think if they, like all these tools, if they're targeted, they're probably okay. Who raised the question? Was that Pam's question?
That was Valerie's question.
Okay. So unfortunately, Valerie's not there.
And if Valerie was here, she would probably
might
be
be able to defend
mentioning native trailblazers right now.
That's a
Because
good
of
point.
the native trailblazers
Okay.
talking about indigenous people and.
Okay, well that is different because the native trailblazers is a bit more like Skype. Native trailblazers happens every Saturday at
right.
night.
They have
and it's a conversation, isn't it? It's
right.
two-way. They've even like us, they've got verbal input, but
right.
they do far more
They have
text.
guests and things like that.
Yeah, Exactly. They have it as dynamic. Now that does work. I mean, for us and for native tribes. When the indigenous women issue has taken off since it started.
Yeah.
Not least of all, actually, because we joined it, and once one group joins from outside, other people click onto it. And then now it's all over the place, and I'm afraid Canada's golden crown's looking a bit shaky now. They were a beacon of hope for liberals around the world, but how they treat their indigenous people is not good at all. FBI, ironically enough, didn't come out of that well either. But yeah, so that kind of thing is good. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's an anchor point. People can go to the Native Trailblazers. They know exactly what these people are there for. They have music, they have discussions, they have guests, and they have a focus, so we know what it's all about. That works better. I mean, you could use podcasts inside that environment for a specific... For example, I'd use podcasts. There's a pipeline. They're trying to stop a pipeline going through sacred land. And someone did a documentary about it, and it got to Cannes. So a lot more people know about it. A documentary podcast about a specific thing. And that actually got people looking at it thinking, oh, now they didn't win the fight, but the fact they fought the fight made people interested in learning more, and they found out more about what was happening to people and how they were being treated. So I suppose it was kind of podcast again as a specific part of something. They're very good for information. Like if you wanted to know the history of the West of America, somebody could do a decent podcast. You could probably get most of the data, in about an hour or so, enough to understand roughly what the situation is. Sport's another great one. Do a podcast on American football. People will understand a bit more about the rules and operation. So if they're specifically used, then yeah, in that case they're very effective. But again, like any tool, they do have to some kind of function. They have to be targeted and well made. So yeah, I suppose they have got one. If that's what Lee was on about, then yeah, she's right. But I wouldn't actually class Trailblazers as a podcast.
As a podcast.
No, but then that's fine. That's just semantics. The point is that, yeah, those things are very effective, particularly online, because online tends to be, it's like an ocean, isn't it? There's a lot out there, a lot of stuff, but sometimes there's too much. Like, I was getting a pen for going to Albert Hall. I wanted to get a Time's Up pen, and I'd lost the link that someone had sent. So I went online, I went to Google and said, how do I get a pen? I got like 10 pages of how do you get a pen? Then they showed me people wearing pens. They showed me the globes. It went on forever. And eventually, in a paragraph embedded, I clicked on a link and it popped up with a shop. So I thought, what is this all about? But, that is what it's like. So sometimes these little podcasts can be islands of information where you can actually go, rather than, get lost in someone's latest movie about Indigenous people. You can find the actual trailblazers, which get right to the heart of the matter with people who are involved in it and know what's going on. So, yeah, in that way, they're very good. And I think that is the way the internet is going to go, actually. There's going to be a lot less formal web pages and a lot more of this kind of dynamic, people sending links to specific purposes. And then the browsers themselves are going to get more clever and start finding the information for you. So it's because it is more like an ocean than it is like a database now, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think going down that road would certainly help feminism. Again, having said that, yeah, it comes right around. A decent podcast that says, what are the waves of feminism, for example? What does people mean when they say that? What's an intersectional feminist as opposed to a wave feminist? What's the difference? A podcast like that would be very useful, like the one you got there. That would be good, and Mashable would be very good. Again, you have to find someone to fire it, though. They have to be available, which is why I think the technology will shift. Because like I said, Google very often doesn't let you down, but there was so much talking about the pens. It took me like 15 minutes to find a site that actually sold them to me. And my query was, how do I buy a pen? So we're in a transitional period at the moment. I think somewhere the information structures we have now for the web aren't up to it now, and podcasts and trailblazers and temporary sites and websites like ours that just sit there with links to other things. are the way I think things are going to go.
Anybody else want to add anything to that?
I mean, I barely even listen to podcasts in general.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I have no use in this one.
You should. You're behind the times.
Well,
You old guys really need to get on board with these things.
every single podcast what I was able to find was mostly made by a radical feminist or
Yeah.
like the Catholic one. So
Terse. It's so full of hate. They don't do
yeah,
anything.
exactly.
It's
So
really depressed. I actually followed a few of them for part of the conversation online, and I had to turn them off. I was getting so sick of it. Every timeline I would go through is blaming trans people for everything. It's pathetic. They sound just like people used to treat lesbians less than 20 years ago, and they don't even see it. They're really, really bigoted, and it's just so annoying. It's like, oh God, guys, you're wasting so much time on this tiny group of people to blame for everything. How original is that? So yeah, so that could, maybe politics will go that way. It's interesting, won't it? I mean, it'll be interesting. For example, if someone was forced to write a podcast about Brexit, or someone was forced to write a podcast about how Trump managed to manipulate the system to get himself elected, maybe the people would actually have to think about it, and that would get people, because they're good shorthand, aren't they? They're like writing an essay. They make you focus on the issue. So maybe they could be a learning tool as well. People could say, right, this is your assignment. For the end of the week, I want to know about feminism in Iran. I want to know about the current situation, and you're going to make me a 20-minute podcast on both of those things. You would have to start focusing and collecting information. Like the TERFs, make them do podcasts about the history of lesbian oppression and see if eventually they get the point of it mirrors their own actions. So it may be a useful tool that way as well.
Reminds me of some people on OSS who I just want to keep on sending them, like, different articles on why oppressing people is not okay.
Yeah.
Not naming names, but I think we all know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, they spring up. I don't know if either they're the same guy or they've got the same mentality, but they do spring up every few months, these real lunatics. Some of them are just mad. And they always think they're so clever as well, don't they? You guys are all brainwashed. By whom? For what? You know, they can just
Men
decide,
shouldn't have the right to vote. Okay, then.
Yeah, it's true. Who told you that? Your hamster.
That's for the hell of a hamster.
Yeah, it's just so weird. It just seems to be... But then again, this is a good thing in a way, because maybe somebody like him, you could say to him, Guy, go make a podcast of what you're saying. At least then you might have to put it in some coherent form and, stop attacking people. The other thing they seem to do a lot, I think, is extraordinary, is always put words to your mouth. Whenever I argue with them, they think, this is what you meant. No, I meant what I said. That's why I said it. You don't add things. You were motivated by this. I was not motivated by that. So, yeah. Oop. Martin McGonagall and Harvey Weinstein, I hope he dies. Oh, okay. Oh, well, the Irish Times are taking the direct approach, as is their wont.
yeah, guys, have you watched Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri?
I
seen it yet.
haven't,
My
but
wife
I'd like
has,
to see it.
My wife said
Yeah, I loved it. It was really awesome.
oh,
Great.
okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Sure.
it was like, have you watched In Bruges or Seven Psychopaths?
I have watched both of those, yeah. I thought In Bruges was really good. So I like Seven Psychopaths. I think Christopher
Yeah, In
Walken.
Bruges was awesome. Actually, this movie made me re-watch the other two, and it made me think that it was really we could really expect something like Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri from Martin McDonagh. Like, he's an intersectionalist, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think movies are podcasts? Are they the podcasts of old? You could say Three Bridges
Yeah.
was a podcast, couldn't you? Because it's describing like we're talking about, the apathy of certain authorities to deal with certain crimes. And that's what Three Bridges encompasses, how this woman has to literally do it herself because the systems that are supposed to deal with it are so slow as to be irrelevant. And she uncovers the racism and the hate and the cause of what happened to her daughter and the cause of why the system didn't work. So, yeah, so that's a good example. We see movies as podcasts, then there's another one, that's a topic for extension of that podcast. Are movies about feminism good for feminism, to extend the point? There's one coming out that
Exactly.
Agnes told me about. What's it called?
Yeah,
Disobedience.
disobedience.
And that's about a closed Jewish community where they have a lesbian. It's kind of, ironically enough, it seems to me that they've put it into a closed community because they're trying to address the kind of prejudice that theoretically doesn't exist anymore. But this is trying to address that, if it still does, by putting it in that community that hasn't embraced the modern world. But yeah, we could say that. Movies, maybe. Now, do they help, though? That's my point. If you see this movie and you love it, because they said that the lesbian aspect's handled well, the love scenes are handled well, the relationship problems are handled well, does that make people more or less likely to be tolerant towards lesbians? And if someone made a movie about feminism and a similar theme, would it mean people in general would be more likely to treat feminism with more respect? So I don't know.
I guess you know how I saw in Bruges and Seven Psychopaths in the light of Three Billboards this time was that like in these two movies, I mean his manifesto is like people are like the same, their position, everything about them. Like whether they're like black or white or from different races or everything like that. And but bottom line is that all of them, everyone, in the end is looking for salvation, like in the most primal level. And that was really cool. In both movies, black-white couples exist, like characters exist with a deep Oedipal level, and even to the level that one of them is actually gay. And in like Seven Psychopaths, he actually says that they prefer now to be called homo, not like anything else.
Yeah, because
And
of
it was really
adult interest.
exactly. It was really cool. I think
Well, that answers
he's
my point.
awesome.
It clearly does work because it worked on Shaista. She now knows a lot more about that kind of movie making. So it did work. Well, so there you go. That's my point. It does films, stories, in fact, is what it's all about. People are built on stories. Our whole culture are basically stories. Most of our lives are based on our stories. And so if we tell stories well, then they're the best way to communicate to people.
Exactly.
Apparently there was a movie made called, was it Ed Norton made it? I think it was American X, where he plays
American History X.
Yeah, that was a great, and that actually had an effect on reducing the amount of people who joined right-wing cults for a while, because it showed him cleverly as the ultimate hero, tattooed, well-built, stronger than all the lesser races, all of that rubbish, kills someone for his brother, ends up in prison, gets out, but when he's in prison, he meets someone of this, he finally meets another culture which he'd never seen, and he's so impressed by it that it changes his view of the world, and he ends up being an anti-Nazi, realising that the world's not that simple, and you can't just blame all your problems on everybody else. And the personal responsibility and the courage of that man in the prison to even talk to somebody like him. So, yeah, I think they're good. I think broadcast in that sense, the broader sense of stories, if they're done well, they can be very useful and they can be shows, like movies for people. Stories are the weapons we use. The stories that people tell. Because that's all bigotry is. Who's that? Someone... Why do we have an icon with Bell on it? Who's appeared?
Because I don't know why, but she's supposed to be on chat and she wasn't.
Left out, yeah. She
Yeah.
left somehow.
Oh. She's another newbie then. Oh, she's not
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I like her icon. I like her already.
I just add her anyway, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know she was sending me a message.
Well, it's a shame Bee's not here, because our topic was a good one. Expanded out. I don't know. Okay. Cool. So everybody's got homework. Go watch some podcasts and learn stuff.